Cashomaniacs.
Geo Gearheads.
Welcome back to the Geo Gearheads, episode 439. I'm Daryl W4, back as usual with Chris of the Northwest.
Hey, Daryl, it's good to be back with you. How are you doing this week?
You know, this is probably not the week to ask that question. It's
okay,
been one of those weeks.
You know what? Let's pretend I didn't ask, and we'll move right along.
Okay, we can do that.
Yikes.
I
don't know what to say now.
Well, I could ask you how your week's going, but I kind of killed that part too.
Yeah. My week's gone pretty well. Got a lot of things going on at work, but that's a good thing at times.
But did you get any caching in?
I really wanted to today. I was out and about, but I just didn't do it. Let me put it this way. I looked, there wasn't anything around that was convenient for me to grab.
See, we had a few caches that we were able to grab on the beautiful day, but it got really hot really fast, and we had too much other things to do, include putting new travel bug decals on the car.
Ooh.
So that was fun.
Now you can be found in case you can't find anything.
Yeah. Well, and we actually had most of those stickers on the car, just in different spots. So,
does that make it a theft deterrent? Because that way the car is easily, trackable. They could go find it.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But maybe we can ask our guest tonight, look out Lisa in Kid Vegas, because you know what? They actually provided the stickers that were on my car. Not the new stickers, but the ones that were on there and still are on there.
Ah, awesome. So what was the question?
Well, the question is, can the trackable stickers be considered a theft deterrent?
I haven't heard that aspect of it yet. Although it does make your car easier to identify, And
I'm thinking we have to ask an insurance adjuster or something like that.
Yeah.
But then you could leverage the vast army of geocachers to go out and to find your car, because they will.
Right.
They will find, it doesn't matter where
it is trackable.
Or
doesn't that count as like having a low jack system?
Oh
no. I've had to explain that so many times. People think that Trackable actually sends out a signal. No, it doesn't quite work.
Ooh, really? I didn't realize that was the thing.
A self-find
trackable? Mm-hmm.
But that would be really cool if we could come up with one.
No, I'm sure it could be done.
Well, Chris, remember we played with the tile trackers at one point on the travel bugs, and it got like one hit in a year.
Yeah.
So that didn't work either.
So are you saying it's not worth hiding a tile somewhere in your car? So if it gets stolen, that a jogger will tell you where it is?
Yeah, probably not.
Okay. Well, we'll have to come up with another system then. So much for this show.
well, this show is not about that. But before we get into what this show is about, why don't we actually let look at Lisa and Kid Vegas do a little bit of an introduction, including why it is that they have the stickers that I put on my car.
What was the question?
Yes, sorry, you really broke up.
Yeah.
All I heard was stickers on your car.
Oh, sorry. No, just mentioning that we'll get you guys the opportunity to do the introduction and let everyone know why it is that I have stickers from you on my car.
Ah, okay. Sure. Well, I'm Lookout Lisa, and this is
Kid Vegas 19, JD in real life.
Yeah. And we are from, Cash Advance is a company that I started.
Oh, what a coincidence. I'm wearing this shirt today.
Yeah.
Go figure.
So I started Cash Advance, a geocaching gear and inspiration store 15 years ago. And one of my main products has been doing the travel bug decal for your car. So I can do decals and static clings, magnets, different sizes and such. And yeah, I've been doing those for, like I said, I probably started those maybe about 2 years into my business. So it's been a long time. So I've had the pleasure of my products being put on multiple geocaches and vehicles and bicycles and buildings for many, many years.
Well, before we go much further, GSM times 2 wants to know how Kid Vegas 18 got his name.
Well, it's actually 19.
I was going to say,
And actually,
we don't know anything about Kid Vegas 18.
Yeah, that's why I'm 19, because there was 18 of them already. No, but so actually the 19 is the number I wore when I played baseball back in the day, when the world was in black and white. And then Kid Vegas was a name that my first trip to Las Vegas was with our local pool billiard team, and somehow or another one of the guys on the team came up with the Kid Vegas name for me. So then when it was time to sign up for geocaching, I want to use something really stupid and silly like JD. Here, I'll go with Kid Vegas 19.
Which is kind of unfortunate right now with COVID-19. KV19, we use KV19, when you're setting micro logs. So yeah, bad timing, but
I had never drawn that conclusion now. So
Yeah.
until now.
Now you
that-
can't see it.
yeah. But to offset it, when I sign micro logs, I sign LOL for Look at Lisa. So it's all good.
Or you laugh a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's thinking that you're laughing at their caches?
No.
Well, tonight we're going to be talking about caching with your GeoPup. And this actually kind of came about because I did a video on the personal channel with our dog, who's not really a GeoPup, but it kind of reminded us that we should be doing another one of these shows. And I decided to call in the two of you because, well, you have some experience with that. And also, I don't think you do anymore, but you used to sell some of the products for the GeoPups.
Yeah, I had quite a line actually from Bison Designs, are the main ones. They, the folks that made the original Bison. It's actually a company called Bison Designs. They're out of Colorado, and they have a lot of dog gear, collars and leashes and collapsible water bowls and that sort of thing. And one of my early products too was the Dr. B's Canine Repair Kit. Which was first aid for dogs. And that was something that I sourced different items, and there's even a little booklet in there. But I'm not carrying any of those anymore. So, but they were great items at the time. I'm just more focusing on the people that are caching.
Well, that brings up a really good question, though. If we're going to take a dog caching, what should we have in a canine first aid kit?
Yeah. Well, there's quite a few things that are important to have. Obviously, in case there's a wound or such, gauze and bandages.
And had that.
Yeah.
And then the tape.
Tape. You need to tape that bandage up to them somehow. There are blunt scissors. So they have a blunt edge that goes closer against their skin, because it's really easy. If you're trying to cut out a burr or a big bit of pitch or something, you can accidentally, pull up their skin and cut into it. So having the blunt scissors is helpful. Benadryl is useful in case of a sting or a rattlesnake bite. Even it can help, but it needs to be used cautiously. Dogs don't need nearly as much as humans do. It really can help you. It gains you time in case of an emergency if you need to get to a vet due to a sting or a bite. And antiseptic.
Tweezers.
Oh yeah, tweezers.
Nice set of tweezers. Yep.
Yeah, a good set of tweezers. Pull out stickers, what have you. what was I saying? Oh, like alcohol wipes, to clean any wounds that can happen. And that's easy to do. Gosh, dogs are going crazy out there. If you are even on leash, they can run up against something that can, slice their leg or their belly. And so you want to try to keep those as clean as possible too.
So it sounds pretty much like a human first aid kit with a few changes, but pretty close.
Yeah, absolutely. Dogs are similar to humans for
exactly.
medical
I've
needs.
never considered, first aid for dogs. I mean, they're supposed to be outside, but you're exactly right. I mean, they can get into a sticky situation quickly, especially if something, goes after them. So.
Yeah. My brother one time was backpacking in Idaho, and his dog was bitten by a rattlesnake. And it was quite the ordeal to get the dog back to the trailhead, which was actually an airport. There's no roads in, and they had to get a flight out to an emergency vet.
So like an airstrip.
Airstrip, yeah. It was
Wow.
a ranger station with an airstrip in in the middle of wilderness, really. There's no roads. But the dog survived. But it was quite the ordeal.
Wow.
Jumping back a little bit, GSM times 2 said Benadryl in the proper dosage. Check with your vet, and that's something to keep in mind. I do remember seeing a chart somewhere at one point, but that could have come from my vet.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to be careful. Yeah.
A previous dog would freak out on 4th of July, so a little bit of Benadryl to help calm her down. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, what saved Eve always, our border collie, did not like loud sounds. And as she got older, she went deaf. So suddenly 4th of July wasn't an issue anymore.
Just like every other day.
Oh, interesting. RG is recommending an extra collar and leash. I'm assuming there's some kind of story there. So maybe we could share what that story was. And then also a splint. Another good idea.
Yeah.
And GSM times 2 says, and lots of water.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not first aid. That's just general.
Right.
Dogs need a lot of water. They have a hard time regulating their own heat, or their body temperature. If it's really hot and they're exerting themselves, they only sweat from their nose and their feet, basically. Whereas humans, we can sweat all around and cool much better. So they need more water. Eve, we had special saddlebags for her, and she would actually carry her own water. So we had to make sure not to overload her, but that was helpful because water's heavy. It's like over 8 pounds per gallon.
Yeah.
And not to mention they're wearing a fur coat while out hiking as far as we are in shorts, right?
Yeah.
Well, I understand that you guys actually have a little bit of an interesting story about a friend of yours' dogs too.
Well, yeah. So one of the aspects of having a dog is your muggle cover, right? And so my friend, his catching name is Scareway. We were out doing a night cache. This was a while ago. Actually, it's 2 night caches. We're in a big old park, and they basically started at the same point. And you had a white trail of tacks and an orange trail of tacks, and they ended up 525 feet apart with the finals. And so our strategy was, okay, me and his kid, we would take the white tacks, and then Scareway, he's going to do the orange ones, and we split up eventually. Well, with night caches, the particular problem with the tacks are when it starts to leaf or vegetation starts to grow, you can cover up the tacks, and that's what happened on our side. And so me and Link at Lattice were searching all over trying to find the last tack to find the final, and these young girls drive up in a van probably 17, 18 years, saying, well, what are you guys doing? And, oh, no, got to get rid of these people right away. I said, we're just looking for our dog, Parker. Oh, we'll help. And they take off and they start yelling, Parker, Parker, and they're driving around. Worked for us, got rid of him. We made the fine. But she's driving around getting closer to Scareway, who actually has Parker. And so they come up to him and he sort of puts two and two together and he figures out, and he's, oh, here's Parker. I found him. He's safe.
I'll call my friends. Yeah. Yeah, dogs can be great muggle cover, but it can go awry.
Something you have to work out ahead of time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. It was, really late at night. And when do we get a cat?
Ooh.
And so
Yeah.
So
you just don't expect to run into anybody. It was creeping up on midnight there, and these people showed up. Got to think fast.
was that at Slavin?
No, it was up on the 29th, and
Okay. Yeah. So this is Hilo, if anybody's wondering. He's about 12 years old. Had some dental extractions recently, so he's not feeling 100% yet.
Oh.
But he'll be all right. He's a big boy.
Yeah, I seem to remember we had one cat that had a bunch of dental issues, and everyone took a little bit longer for him to recover from the procedure. And I think the last time took like a week-ish before he got back to normal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're probably about 7 days. So he's normal. He's just
he's not normal.
he's a cat.
He's normal for a cat?
Yeah. Hilo means twisted in Hawaiian.
Nice. It probably fits the personality, I would imagine.
A little bit. Yeah.
Well, and that's not your only cat, correct?
That's right. The other one is I'm going to make you all seasick. Let's see if I can do this. She's right there.
And she's actually your kind of geocaching cat?
That's correct. Yeah. So she's a really good traveler. Kona is diabetic and she's 16 years old. And coincidentally, she's toothless. When I adopted her, she was about 4 or 5 years old and had feline herpes, which had affected her gums and teeth quite a bit. And so we had to eventually remove all of her teeth, but she was fine. And so she travels with us because she needs her insulin twice a day. And when we go to, events that we can drive to, such as Seattle or Long Beach, Tri-Cities, that sort of thing, we just pop her in the kennel and she's great. And she hangs out in the hotel. So she's done some caching, but it's by car. And she's black, so she doesn't handle the sun really well.
But I was referencing in the it's not the show notes, but the pre-show that we do have in the Northwest here a person that brings their cat to events, and I'm sure Chris has run into that. Yeah. And it's the coolest cat ever. Just I love the leash. Come pet me. I don't care.
Yeah. Hangs out with the dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we do have some interesting geo pets out there. I remember at least one cockatoo, the big white bird that you always see at the pirate movies sitting on the pirate's shoulder at a mega event, and a couple of, I want to say there were bearded dragons, but I'm not sure if they both were, but 2 lizards sitting on shoulders, all of which had trackables, which was especially interesting for the bird. Birds don't take a whole lot of weight, so I seem to remember a very tiny tag on the ankle band of the bird.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah, if they're an aluminum trackable, they're really lightweight, but still it can, obviously be a problem because you're right. They can't handle a lot of weight.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think this is one they just like stamped out themselves because
Okay.
it was so tiny, but it was so cool.
Yeah, I never made Eve trackable. People would ask me, my border collie, and she came to, gosh, she's been at many mega events and lots of different other events and out hiking and such. But she was very protective of me. And if someone were to get really close to her to look at that number and get between her and I, that could be a problem. So I just never made her trackable.
So most of the things we're going to talk about tonight are people who own their pets, have their pets, they know this. Okay. Mm-hmm. So this is for the viewers and listeners that are thinking about getting a pet. This is where we can help you the most.
Yeah.
Yeah, we definitely want to get into that because that's an excellent point. But GSM times 2 wants to know if the black cat is a travel bug.
She is not, but stay tuned. There may be a new cashkin coming out.
Ooh.
Does she have her own geocaching account?
She doesn't.
Now, that was one of the questions we want to pose to the audience.
Yeah.
Of those of you that have GeoPets, do they have their own account? And if they have their own account, have they found more caches than Chris?
I know I've seen quite a few accounts for animals, mostly dogs. I never started one because I have a hard enough time logging my own caches, other than trying to keep track of which ones my dog was with.
Well, and the alternative that I've seen some people do, and our dog is trackable, but we don't actually do it, is they'll take the trackable dog tags and dip them into the caches to track the ones that their pets have done. And that way it's not a separate account, it's not a separate log, it's just visit on that cache. On the boat says nope and nope.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when I started caching with dogs, you couldn't just drop or dip or visit travel bugs. You actually had to log it in and then log it back out. Yeah. And that was just so many steps. So I just never got in that habit of doing that.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Is it was only about 10 years ago that we actually got that functionality. So in the earlier days, really the account was the best way to do it, but you'd have to log them as well. And at least with field notes, that got a little easier because you could upload those to both accounts.
Right.
Ian says if they can log their own caches, then sure, they should have an account.
My border collie probably could have if I taught her. She's pretty smart.
And then Andrea says that GC Luke is a black lab and has his own account, 2,665 finds in 6 years.
That's awesome.
That's not more than me yet.
I was going to say that's probably better than I've done in the last 6 years.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's neat.
And then GSM times 2, as probably most of us know, Bella Geo has her own account, and she is a premium member and has more fines than Chris.
Yes.
8,158.
Uh-huh.
Yes. And Bounce says, not my dogs. I have a hard enough time logging my own fines.
I'm with you, Bounce, on that one.
Yeah. So he could ride his dogs to the geocaches.
They're that big?
They're that big?
Large animals.
Wow.
That's right. I think they're Danes, aren't they? I think I may have seen one or two. I'm not sure.
Well, let's jump back into the knowing your dog, because this is actually an issue outside of geocaching as well. But but one of my coworkers has had problems with his dog protecting his fiance.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It can be interesting even when you know your dog, trying to know your dog.
Yeah, so part of knowing your dog is know the breed. So with Eve, that was easy, border collie, and herd stuff. If cows were not available in our yard, she'd herd the cats. If the cats were not available, she'd herd us. So it's just that was her job, and she did it well.
In a group.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So knowing that, we would know that when we were on a group hike, Eve loves all humans, but she really loved them single file in a line going down the trail, and she'd run up and back and forth between us and make sure we were doing that.
Yeah.
And one time she drops in front of me. I say, "Okay, enough's enough. You're pretty busy here, a little underfoot. You say it's mean." And she says, "Oh, okay," for about 10 feet, and says, "Can't do it. See ya."
Yeah.
So in a 1 mile hike, she did 20.
Oh, Eve.
Yeah.
I always want to put my Fitbit on her for the day. Yeah.
And so your dog, does your dog like all humans? Do they like only female humans? Do they only like male humans? Do they only like adult humans?
Mhm.
As dog owners, you'll know that. And there's a Geo dog in our community here that doesn't get to come to events because it loves female humans. Male humans are a problem. So the owners, if they're going out and it's a group of the women, the dog goes with. If any of us bust in, well, not the dog. So that's sort of my analogy for knowing your dog. And like Lisa was saying, we won't put a trackable on the collar because that might cause a problem. Never did, but might.
It could have. That was my concern with Eve, just because she's so protective as well. Other dogs are not. They're much more, friendly to everybody, and everyone's their friend. So
yeah, Fozzie's one of those who loves all the humans. Doesn't necessarily have a whole lot of interest in spending much time with them, but loves all the humans, especially the delivery folks, because he's gotten trained by the UPS and USPS drivers who either bring cookies or give him lots of rubs.
There you go. Yeah.
So if they don't know, they get scared because he tries to run up and he loves to bark at them.
Give me something. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, look at me.
Yeah.
I'm here. Pay attention.
That's hilarious because for Eve, the first, probably 6-7 years that I ran my business, I ran it out of my home. And I would package all of my shipments going out to people and put them on my porch. And the UPS and USPS drivers would come and take them. So she experienced them stealing stuff from our yard every day and just hated them for that. They didn't bring her much. They'd bring me stuff, but nothing for her. So pro tip for you delivery people, keep dog treats handy.
Yeah, it's a prevalent trait out here for the mail carriers to have the biscuits for their dogs.
Yeah, no, not my mail carrier. He used to taunt her. Yeah, didn't work out so well.
Now, my dog loves people, doesn't get along with other dogs.
Yeah, Fozzie's not much for other dogs. He likes to go visit with them, but for the most part, he's more interested in their humans.
No, mine gets a little too aggressive around other animals, around other dogs. Around humans, there's no problem. I trust
funny.
her around babies. I don't trust her around another dog.
Yeah. It's funny because sometimes Fozzie is really unhappy with certain dogs. And I don't expect that he would do anything, but he's not happy with them. And it's very rare we haven't figured out any common thread. But at the same time, there's dogs that really don't like Fozzie too. So we always have to be on the alert with a new dog.
Right. Yeah.
Humans, not so much.
Yeah. It's probably just a dominance thing. What often helps is when you're in more neutral territory, it's nobody's territory, then multiple dogs generally get along well, such as a dog park.
Right.
But when you're coming onto somebody else's territory, or if they've been there, 10, 20 minutes, it's become their territory, that can cause problems. And we have to remember that dogs are generally instinctual. We can train them so much, but that fight or flight instinct can kick in. So that's why we have leashes. Yeah.
Talking about training, GSM times 2 wants to know if anyone's scent trained their dog to smell out plastic bags, and says it's his greatest regret that he didn't do that with Bella Geo.
It's Bellagio.
No, that was the one thing. One of my questions was, it ties in with that, or is not the same question, is, has your GeoPet actually made a find? And I was real excited once we were out and we're coming close to the cache, and Eve takes off right where the arrow's pointing, and wow. Then she comes running back and does a hop and runs back to where they're. Man, she's got this. She knows where it's at. We bushwhack through there and we get through, and it was just Timmy in a well.
That's exactly what I was going for.
Wasn't the cat.
Well played.
Yeah. Hey, an interesting tidbit from On a Boat is that for Midwest Geobash, they actually have registration for the fur babies. And they have a lot of them every year.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
But-
it.
Yeah, Eve's been there to Midwest Geobash.
Oh, I don't know that I ran into you guys when you were there then.
I was there 2 years. Yeah, but it's been a while.
Yeah, that was
Quite a while.
a long time ago.
Yeah, it was
2010-ish.
the first one was before you, Guy. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
No, the second one was after.
That's right, because you
Mhm.
drove back to.
Mhm. Yeah. And we
yeah, probably a couple that I missed then.
it might have been. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
recall you there, but there were a lot of people there. So I met a lot of new folks.
Huh. I am
Yeah.
not aware of the Yellow Ribbon program.
Yeah,
No.
GSM times 2 asked if we're aware of the Yellow Ribbon program for dogs that lets people know that they shouldn't be approached. So I had heard of that and totally forgotten. But that's an excellent concept. It's, anyone who has a yellow band or ribbon, don't approach the dog. And he says it encourages people to have yellow ribbons on their leashes to identify them.
Okay.
And I seem to remember it's also like on the harness. So if you see it on the harness, I could be wrong. We'll have to look that up because that was a great idea.
And
But it
another
needs the awareness to, let people know that this is what that is stay away from yellow.
Yeah, I had no idea. Yeah, good to know. It makes me think about service dogs.
Right.
Because we see a lot of service dogs at events and such as well, or just out in the world, when we are able to go back out in the world. And they're not to be approached. The best thing to do is ignore them. They're working and they need to be focused on their job. Any dog in the that you meet, you always, if you want to pet it or approach it, you always need to ask permission. But if it's a service animal, you really shouldn't even do that.
Very true. Let's get back to some of the gear, though, because we already even talked about the first aid and water. But what are some of the other things that we should actually carry for the dogs?
Well, we covered it, collars and tags, maybe trackable, the leash, of course. And then we touched on the saddlebags. We want, if your dog is the type of dog that can carry saddlebags, have them earn their keep. And that's what we did with Evie.
Yeah, and so she was a working dog or herding dog. They need a job to do. So, just putting those bags on her, suddenly she's like, okay, I'm dialed in. I've got this job, carry this stuff on my back. And that actually reduces stress for her, which was kind of interesting.
But yeah, so that might not work for, I don't know the German Shepherd breed.
It'd be the same.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're certainly big enough to carry saddlebags, but will they want to?
Oh, yeah. They need a job.
Nine.
You're in the herding group. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't imagine that the smaller dogs like Fozzie or Bella would be very good at that.
You might be
Didn't
surprised.
Tulu
Fozzie might be because he's about a 20-pound dog.
Mm-hmm. It'd be small bags, but yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be on the smaller side.
Yeah.
Because I think Tulu had her.
I think so. And she's only about 22, not even 25 pounds. She's the size of this cat.
Yeah.
Well, and
Yeah.
Fozzie's one of those weird dogs that actually does like to wear things.
Okay. Yeah. There are a lot
So
of those.
it would probably actually work if we could find something that would fit him.
Sure.
Or you dress your dog.
Yes, but only for Halloween.
Okay.
But he does actually, on like those really cold days, he's got a jacket and he does have a rain jacket.
Okay.
But that he doesn't like because his feet still get wet. He's a little bit of a baby about it.
Yeah.
But his favorite costume was a hot dog costume.
Sounds adorable.
He really loved it, especially because he got extra attention from other humans.
Oh, sure. Yeah. There's a company called Outward Hound that makes a lot of specialized gear for dogs, dogs that go out and about. So I would recommend them. We've met them at lots of trade shows, and they're good folks too. One of the most important things to have for your dog is a poop bag. And that can be as easy as just a sandwich bag. Although they even make specialized ones that you can attach to your flexi leash and such. But just something to pick up the poop and bring it along with you. A pro tip, turn it inside out, put your hand in it, grab the thing. So you stay clean and you've got your sealed up bag.
Well, and the other thing that I'll put along with that is something to carry the used poopy bags out.
Right.
So I came up with a great find on Amazon one time, and we've had it for like 3-4 years now. That's just the little clip on the leash that will rotate so it doesn't get all tangled, and it's been a lifesaver.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really no fun carrying it out, but we need to do that.
Yep. Yeah. Imagine if you're that person going to the cache and end up stepping in someone else's. Yeah, not fun.
No thanks. Yeah.
Not cool, man.
No.
Now I have on occasion when I'm out hiking more in a wilderness area or near a trailhead, and Eve had done her duty, clean it up, and then actually mark a waypoint, tuck it behind a bush, and then be sure I get it on my way back out. So I don't have to carry it all the way in and all the way back out to the cache. But remember to pick up those bags, people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, she'll mark the bag, not the car. You can get to the bag, but then how do you get to the car?
Well, now you're halfway.
Yeah. That's what we have the dog.
Well, you just if the dog is just doing enough, then you'll have your breadcrumb trail.
Right.
On the go ahead, sorry.
Oh, I was just going to say, I've seen a lot of tribute caches to dogs as well.
Mm-hmm.
I never did put one out after Eve went over the Rainbow Bridge, but I have 2 caches, one at our local humane shelter, and it's supposed to be, filled with dog friendly things. And then another one at the other shelter where I actually adopted her from. And this guy, they both came from the same shelter. So, which is fun. It brings people to the shelters and a great way to remember our pets. So I'd love to know if anybody else has found caches like that.
Yeah, I used to find a few of those, but not so many anymore. And I gather it's because I've already done most of them.
Right.
Getting back to gear, though, in the water, remember, so a lot of dogs do like to drink right out of like water bottles, but you want something that they can actually drink out of that's not going to be as wasteful, especially when you have to carry a bunch of water for a day.
Right.
So you already mentioned that Bison has like the collapsible dishes and things like that. And I've got a couple of different ones I've tried for Fozzie that are not the collapsible dishes, but they're actually the water bottles for just the regular walks. And he loves like they're like little scoops where the water is either poured into them, or the one I'm using right now even has a little valve on it, so that you just tip it down, the water comes out, and he drinks it up. So something like that is great because it's really quick. And when you have a dog that's a little bit ADD, then, they get their drink and they go right back to, bouncing all over the trail.
Right.
Ian has a cache that his wife hid for one of the pups just off the edge of a parking lot at the favorite dog park.
Perfect.
That's awesome. Yep. Dog parks are great for caches. I remember I was actually on my way home from Midwest Geobash years and years ago in Fargo, and I stopped at a dog park, and it had a cache in it. So Eve got to stretch her legs after a long afternoon of driving, and we got to find a cache.
Yeah, and that's one thing. If you are driving, make sure that you give the dog lots of breaks.
Mhm.
Yes.
Now, as you're taking your dog down the trail, you've got water for them. Perhaps they're carrying their own. And you've got a backpack and other things. And when you're out on a trail, do you keep your dog on a leash?
So that's controversial. So
it depends.
it depends. So we would go to a local hill that was close to the house where we lived at the time, and the local rules were dogs on leashes at all times. Now, some people interpreted it to mean on leash at all times, at least past 10 feet onto the property, then it's up to you. And boom, away goes Eve. And so I didn't always like that, because this place was popular also for like mountain biking and other dogs and not so much wild animals. But Eve loved it. She got to run and be free. Now, when we're up in the hills, mountains, I guess, around here, yeah, that's a different story. We're going to be the only people there, and she's going to be the only dog there. She might not be the only animal, but so you got to be cognizant of that. I think we were lucky, or you trained her well. She didn't run, half a mile away and then come back. We could always hear where she was at if we couldn't see her, and so that was a good thing.
Yeah, again, it depends on knowing your dog. Some dogs, when they're off leash, they're just like, then they're off to the races, and you may never find them again. Other dogs, they're if it's an appropriate area that you can go off leash and they'll be safe, it's okay to do that.
I agree. I think it depends on the dog.
Yeah, Fozzie's not a dog that would ever do that with, because he ping pongs way too much, and we're not sure where we go, and would probably get underfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those dogs.
Yeah.
Well, we are getting kind of close to the wrap up time for the show, but you did mention in the show notes that Brian Roth, Geocaching HQ's bigwig, brings his dog to work on a regular basis.
Yeah, he does.
I know that you guys had your dogs at work for a while as well.
Yeah, and Eve actually has been to HQ, 2 or 3 different HQs. They've moved a little bit. I know a little bit. And she's been there with Brian Roth's dog at the same time. We had a meeting, I don't remember when it was, probably 07-ish or so. I happened to be in Seattle and was able to pop into headquarters. And at that time, it was a smaller operation. But I had an appointment, and it was cleared to bring Eve in, and Brian had not the dog he has now, but another dog, and they were perfect. They just ignored each other, and we were able to have our meeting, and they both just laid down and were chill. and knew their people had business to do, as I'm a distributor for a lot of their products.
Yeah, my experience with bringing the dog to work was one Friday every month. I'd take him to work because the groomer was just down the street, so it made it easy. But it made working rather hard because he'd come in, after you walk him around, because he always has to go for his walk after the grooming, and then he'd lay down for about an hour or so, and then it would be a get up and bark like crazy anytime anything happened, and about every half an hour to an hour bark because he wants to go for a walk because he gets bored. There's no one there to pay attention to him, and everyone's busy doing other things. So, let's go for a walk where someone might actually pay attention to me.
Right.
I
my stores have always been dog friendly. So it's been fun to be able to invite dogs in, and especially in the summertime when it gets hot, people that are traveling through and they've got their dog and they're kind of like, bring the dog in. That's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the case where I am now, but I'm sorry, Chris, I think I talked right over you. Go ahead.
Oh, I worked at the kids' school for a while. So on show and tell days, they would ask, can we bring the dog? Sure. I'll bring the dog in and walk it to class. They get to see it, come back and lay at my desk for a while. I'll take you home at lunch. But, for the last couple of months, I've been working with my dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's been my cubicle mate.
The question is your dog moving up the corporate ladder faster than you are?
Probably.
I've heard lots of complaints about that.
Mm.
Yeah.
The cats being the stars of the meeting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, there are many stores, Lisa, you said, that will allow dogs to come in. I know Home Depot's, most pet stores will allow dogs to come in. My dog was incredibly well behaved until I took her to the pet store and she's surrounded by food.
Oh.
She's like, I got to find all this. I mean, you think about that. That's a brilliant idea for the pet store owners, because if there's any spill of any kind, the dog's going to clean it up.
They don't ever have to sweep.
Yeah, speaking of that, one of the interesting things, Bass Pro Shop lets dogs in at their stores. Mm-hmm. So come winter time and hotter days in summer, that place is packed with people walking their dogs around the store.
Yeah, we had a store, Mountain Gear, here in Spokane, that was pet friendly. And I remember when we had our huge snowstorm, was that 2008?
Yep.
We had 12 feet of snow in 2 weeks. It was just ridiculous. And so there was no way for me to exercise Eve out in all this. It was way too, it was way over her head even. And so I actually drove her to the store and we were able to walk around. And for a border collie, they need the mental stimulation as well as the physical stimulation. And so sniffing and meeting people and new experiences, that was all it took to wear her out.
Nice. It's kind of like mall walking for dogs, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. That's really what it was. We weren't shopping. I was just there to take her out.
Well, that reminds me that there's at least one outdoor mall comes to mind that the stores that are dog friendly have a sticker of a dog in the front window by the door. So you know which ones you can bring the dogs into and which ones you can't.
Well, that's a great idea. Yeah.
Now the secret world of the dogs, I'm learning here. The yellow ribbon and the stickers.
Sticker, yeah.
There are so many.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of like just water bowls put out at pubs and restaurants that have outdoor seating and such. But you want to be careful about sharing water.
Yeah, I was gonna say something about that too, because you want to, on the trails especially, make sure that you don't let the dogs drink out of puddles.
Yeah.
All kinds of nasty things in those.
Yeah. I know one time Eve brought home Giardia to my cats and shared it that way. She was fine with it, but not so much with the cats.
I was gonna say, at least she's sharing.
Yeah. Wasn't so good. Yeah.
Not the kind of thing you want shared. Well, thank you so much for joining us and giving us a little bit more insight on Geodogs.
Well, thanks for having us. And
Yeah.
it's good to know you didn't learn your lesson from last time. So
It's good to know, is it?
Before we let you go, though, why don't you give people the info on how to find you?
Sure. Well, on Facebook, we're cash-advance.com. Well, I'm sorry, that's my web address is cash-advance.com. On Facebook, just look for Cash Advance. And we also do cash crates. So if you look www.cashcrate.com for a monthly subscription box of geocaching gear and inspiration.
yeah, for me, probably if you really need to get hold of me, it'd be JD at compasscreekdesigns.com. That would be my business one.
Yeah.
Or
for our coin design business that we
Kid
do.
Vegas 19 at Gmail.
Yeah.
That'll work too.
And look at Lisa at gmail.com too.
And of course, Compass Creek is the great coins and all kinds of stuff. You guys actually did my pins as well.
Yeah, we did the pin. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. For non-geocaching stuff.
Yep.
Yeah.
So-
Absolutely. Yeah.
Geocaching and non-geocaching stuff alike.
Exactly.
Yeah. More business is actually non-geocaching right now.
That makes sense since most people can't go out geocaching.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thanks again. And we've got several great shows already in the works. Next week, we're going to do Cache Notes 2. So send us your favorite tools, your workflows, anything you're doing to keep track of things like the puzzles, the virtuals, the earth caches, and the stuff that you're doing to keep your own hides going. Then the following week, we're going to have Nick from Cachely back on to talk about Cachely 6. The following week, the 18th, guess what? It's time for our next randomized show. It's going to be a little bit of time there, so I'm sure we're going to have a ton of stuff going for that one. But send us your stories for the show, your articles, interesting tidbits, anything that you want us to talk about. That's geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com. Again, geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com for all of that feedback that you want to send for any of those shows.
Oh, I love the randomized shows, but I know you can't wait. So head to Cachemaniacs website at cachemaniacs.com for more on the Geo Gearheads, including show notes from this and all of our shows. We love hearing from our listeners, so leave us feedback by emailing geogearheads at cachemaniacs.com or through the many channels of social media. Your support helps keep the Cachemaniac shows coming. Please consider becoming a patron through the link on our website to support the Cachemaniac shows. Geo Gearheads is produced by Chris Umpenauer and Daryl Wattenberg. The show's copyright 2020 by Daryl Wattenberg. All rights reserved.